Welcome to episode 65 of Vision is Better. Today we're talking visual design and composition, shooting intuitively versus shooting intentionally, and I'll be revealing the winner of the signed copy of The Soul of the Camera that I promised back in episode 63. Also giving away some new, limited, and oh so comfortable Vision is Better t-shirts, so stick around. I'm photographer David duChemin, and this is Vision is Better, a sometimes weekly podcast about the craft and art of photography. Welcome here. Last week I got a comment here on YouTube that got me thinking. The comment, as best as I understood it, suggested all this stuff about composition and visual design was overrated at best, total rubbish at worst, or at least that's how I took the comment. But it's not the first time I've heard this thinking, so I want to give you my humble spin on it. Spin which is, of course, not the only way to look at things, but is probably the right way to look at things. I'm kidding, mostly, The comment I got suggested that moment is everything and implied that composition had nothing to do with anything, that scenes, in fact, composed themselves. And if you've already read my thoughts about this on my blog, stick around. I'm going to try expanding on those thoughts. Yes, moment is or can be everything. Clearly, it is not so in an abstract or a still life or in many landscape photographs, but for some images in which moment matters, yes, it is everything, except that it's not. The composition or visual design of the image is still everything, because there are, in that astonishing, beautiful human moment that is being touted as everything, there are a million ways to show that everything, to put that everything into the photograph. And some of those ways are powerful, intimate, dynamic, expressive, but some are weak, made from so far away that there's no impact, or made so close there's not enough information for us to make sense of that moment, or made with a shutter speed or a point of view or a choice of lens that doesn't portray the energy of that moment. Some are weak because the lines all lead me away from the moment and not towards it. Look, I freaking adore a great moment, friends, just like a great story. But a great story can still be really poorly told. A moment doesn't carry the photograph any better than beautiful light alone or an interesting landscape alone can carry it. Scenes do not compose themselves. Moments do not find their own best expression in your photograph. It's not magic and it's not luck. We do that. And until we begin to get increasingly comfortable with visual design or composition, these moments are going to be happening all around us without getting their best expression in our photographs. That's our job. The second part of that conversation, and there were several parts of that conversation, implied that there were some people who were just really methodical and some who were just really instinctive. Now, I'm willing to be proven wrong on this, but for now, I'm going to go to the mats on it and say there is no such thing as instinctive, not the way we normally think about it. Instinct is something you are born with. That's the way I normally think of instinct. Same with intuition. No one emerges from the womb able to shoot instinctively or intuitively. If there are people like that, they are so few that they are no more than a rounding error. 99.9% of the rest of us have to learn that intuition. If we can be instinctive or intuitive, it is trained in us. It is something that is grown, that is honed. We do it by intentional study. We do it by not being so accidental about our photographs. We do it by learning visual design and studying the work of great photographers. I've been doing this for 30 years, and if any of what I do looks intuitive to you, it's because it has taken me, and still takes me, intentional play and practice. I know of no prodigies in the photography world, but I know many incredible photographers. And they all got there by learning what works and what does not work in terms of the visual language that we all speak as photographers. The photographs I made when I first started out were atrocious. That's all you need to know. And I have hard drives full of sketch images that no one will ever see, but that helped me get to my stronger images. It's something we learn. Here's why I think this matters. If I can do it, so can you. Forget the idea of talent. Talent might start with a spark, but it's what you do with that spark, how you hone it, train it, work it like a muscle. You can also just ignore it and it will waste away. You learn this stuff. Is speaking English, or whatever your mother tongue is it intuitive or instinctive? It probably feels that way, but do none of us remember there was a time we couldn't speak a word of it? And then long hours writing out the alphabet and figuring out verbs and nouns and memorizing vocabulary. It wasn't instinctive or intuitive, though it sure feels like that most of the time now. We learned it deliberately in order to get to this point, a point where we can now improvise and choose our words carefully and artfully, but usually almost without thinking about them at all. Don't give up. Don't dismiss the power of being intentional about your visual design, because it becomes intuitive. Intention leads to intuition. Intention leads to that sense of instinctiveness. Because in the final photograph, moment or light or lines are everything, or they can be, in the final photograph. When you realize that, in fact, composition is everything and is the only thing that will make that moment, those lines, that light, everything in the photograph. We have to translate what is out in the world into what happens on the two-dimensional plane of the photograph. Composition is how we get there. Don't dismiss it. And it can be intuitive, but only after you've trained that intuition with time and intentional study. Do me a favor. I've got some homework for you. I know I don't normally give you homework. I want you to find 3 great images. Images that you love, preferably by another photographer so you can be a little more objective about it. Something with a great moment in it. Now ask yourself, as you look at those photographs, how different would that image be if the photographer were 50 feet back, or 10 feet closer, or 3 feet to the right or to the left? How different would it be if the exact same moment had been caught from the other side of the scene, behind the subject, from a different angle? Would the geometry be the same? Would the balance or tension in the scene be the same? Would the lines lead to the same place? Would it be as powerful or as intimate or provocative or arousing to our emotions or our imaginations? Would there be way more elements in the scene and therefore less impact? Would the lines lead in completely different directions? All of this is composition. It matters deeply. More important than moment, than story? That's not the question. It's the way we tell story and give expression to that moment. Story and moment happen in time and space, and what we do with both are compositional decisions. Friends, this is the stuff that makes the most compelling photographs. We have to study it. We have to get fluent with it. You can do that with any lens, any camera, but you can't do it without being intentional about it. All right, 2 last things. I promised a signed copy of The Soul of the Camera to one lucky person who left me a tough question, and that person is Dan Platon. Dan's questions inspired this conversation, and while he and I probably disagree on just about everything that we discussed, I acknowledge that 1, there might be a language gap, and 2, art and the making of art is never about consensus, and I'm grateful for the way Dan engaged and never got disrespectful. I'm grateful for the raising of questions. Very often questions are more important than the answers. Dan, if you do keep watching, drop me a line and the copy of The Soul of the Camera is yours, if you want it. Our ideas might be divergent enough that it's of no value to you, but I would love to send it to you with my gratitude. And finally, if you would like to win one of these oh-so-limited Vision is Better t-shirts, designed by none other than the brilliant James Victori, leave a comment below and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. The comment doesn't have to be fancy, just let me know you're in for some swag. Just let me know you're in for some free swag and what size you would like. I've only got men's, medium, large, and extra large, and you will get black or gray at my discretion. And as a thank you, I will throw in a couple Vision is Better stickers. They look great on laptops, tripods, bumpers, children, dogs, whatever. I'll draw 3 random names in the next week or 2 and send these to you with my thanks for being part of all of this. Thank you to all of you for being here. Remember, gear is good, vision is better, and composition is everything. See you next time.